Hello friends of Powerhouse Bakery and Divas and Dudes. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm Suzanne Parker and I'm the founder and CEO of Powerhouse Bakery, and we are in the middle of Oh My Pie season. And I wanted to show you some of the tricks of the trade when we make really healthy and beautiful pies any time of year. But these are going to be really fun, I hope. First, I want to show you kind of what I have on my table and see what we're going to be doing as far as fillings and specialty crusts. Because you know at Powerhouse Bakery, we are 100% gluten-free, but we don't stop there. We also really try to teach people that healthy should taste amazing, and we can do so many wonderful confections that are low in sugar and still taste wonderful. I am going to show you an option with a non-nutritive sweetener, but just know that I'm also a big fan of using organic coconut sugar or even agave or honey and using that as your sweetener, but just using less of it. So lots of options. I will be showing you a recipe for this that we're doing today as well. So be looking out for that. So let's get started. What I have right here is a finished crust that I'm going to show you how to assemble. It's a beautiful almond base, and so it's going to have a few unusual ingredients. Of course, I always add the mighty seeds to everything, so that's going to be in this, as well as almond flour, and there's a couple of variations that you can do with more of a standard flour blend too. So just know there's lots of options there. And of the topping, the crumble that goes on top of our pie is going to be this beautiful blend of the mighty seeds as well as a little bit of oats. I even put some pecans in there. So you don't have to use a traditional roll out crust. This becomes really easy, and it's a recipe that's so fun. And again, it's going to be primarily almond flour, but I put a few oats in there also. So it doesn't have to be exclusively grain-free to still be healthy. So that's going to be fun. Now, look at the beautiful filling that I have. These blueberries were actually frozen, and I cooked them down, and I added some sweetener. So this is going to go right into our cooked crust. And so again, this can be with non-nutritive sweetener, or you could absolutely do just a small amount of real sugar. What I love about using berries, they're already naturally sweet, and they are loaded with the antioxidant power that the good Lord put in there. So it's a beautiful pie. And we want to pre-bake the pie crust so that it stays crispy. And now I'm going to put this beautiful topping right on. And oh my gosh, that looks so good. So again, you could even use the crust ingredients and crumble that up, which is what I'm going to show you in a second here. But it just looks really homey and delicious when it has lots of chunks and bumps in there. So I'm going to press it in just a little bit, and that's going to go right into the oven. So let me show you what we did to make that happen. First, I'm going to start cooking our blueberries. So in this case, I'm going to use fresh because you can use fresh or frozen, and I really love getting to use fresh. So I'm going to drop those in. Let those start to cook down, so like a medium-high heat. And I'm going to add plenty of citrus. These are absolutely gorgeous oranges. This time of the year, oranges are so good. So I'm going to squeeze that in. There's our sizzle. It doesn't take much liquid because I really want the juices of the orange to come through. And so if you don't have a rammer that helps you squeeze out the juice, just use the end of your spoon. So we want to get all of that beautiful juice out of there. And I'm not going to put the sweetener in just yet. I just want to let those cook down, maybe for about 5 minutes, and you can see it's going to start just breaking down those skins just enough to liberate all those beautiful antioxidants. And you know, with blueberries, you get lycopene, which is one of those plant phytochemicals that helps to build your immune system. So anytime you're getting purple colors, we love that. Extra dose of nature's warriors against virus and bacteria that we're exposed to every day. So see, that little bit of juice is really good. I'm going to go ahead and add the other half So again, we're getting citrus, which is a great way to keep that palate intrigued, and it's such a satisfying flavor. So we train our palate to love flavors that are not just sweet and sugary. We want a nice balance of some savory and some citrus, as well as the sweet. So the crust becomes that really nice savory component. It doesn't have to have a lot of added sugars. It has that sublime nutty flavor that not only the almonds provide, but also the flour blend. So whether you use a gluten-free flour blend or some multi-grain option, we know that that's going to add such a great flavor component. So look at that. They're going to cook down beautifully. And sometimes I'll need to add a thickener like cornstarch or arrowroot, but right now I'm just gonna see how it goes as is because I want it to be really juicy and lovely. All right, there we go. And now let me show you how we blend this beautiful crust. So I've got my ingredients all measured out. And so this one is going to have more of a traditional blend. So I'm first going to add in our flour, and this is 1.5 cups of our gluten-free flour blend. There we go. And we've got 3/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum, which is right here. It's that funky little powder that when you're working with gluten-free, we got to make sure there's some way to bind it. Without the gluten, we have to add something that kind of holds it together. Then we're going to add in our baking powder and our little bit of Himalayan sea salt. There we go. And we're going to stir this together. So this is the dry ingredients. So again, you can see a little bit of the nut flour blend in there because our specialty blend at Powerhouse Bakery includes some of that beautiful almond flour. So it's going to have a nice multi-grain texture for sure. And now I'm going to add in the fats. So I'm going to add in my coconut oil. So it takes 1 1/3 cups, and I'm just going to start to fold this in. So you'll see how it starts to really come together. And if you prefer, you can always use vegan butter. That's one of my favorite items as well. Earth Balance is a great brand because really it's using palm shortening. It's kind of the cousin to the coconut oil. And if somebody doesn't like the flavor of coconut oil, you know, the palm oil is going to be even lighter in flavor and texture. And so it's a really nice option. Yes, that's coming together beautifully. Now I'm going to add a little bit of organic coconut sugar. I'm going to save some of this because it's going to go into my blueberries. There we go. So it's making a nice, of course with crust, we want it to really be able to work easily into our pan. So now I'm going to slowly add the rest of my flour. So sometimes you could even add more sweetness and even some of the savory or the sweet spices to your crust. So if you're making a crust for a quiche, you could add in some savory flavors. So cumin or taco tango is really a nice way to jazz up a crust. So there we go. That looks just perfect. And let me show you. We have to chill this for a little while. And so it comes out looking like this. So when you chill it, the coconut oil starts to firm up and it makes a really nice texture to work with. So there you have it. And I see our blueberries are steaming along. I want you to see how beautiful they are and how quickly they come together. Yeah, see, these are just gorgeous. And at this stage, I think I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of thickener just so we can get a nice consistency. So you can use arrowroot or you can use cornstarch, but remember with cornstarch you'd have to dissolve it in water first. So that is looking so lovely. I'm going to turn down the heat just a little bit because I really do like it when the berries still have some nice texture. So you notice in that blueberry that I just filled into our pie crust has some good little bundles of the blueberries intact. So we're going to have a nice blend of some juice and some of that wonderful citrus flavor that we're adding in. There we go. I'm going to add a little bit of the coconut sugar in. So again, that was about 1/4 of a cup to 2 pints of blueberries. So it does not take much. And this, oh, this beautiful berry mix is perfect for so many things. We could pour this over some French toast. In my cookbook, I have a Parisian French toast that we put this topping on, this exact stuff. You can always add a little bit of essential oil of tangerine if you didn't have an orange handy. This time I didn't, but I normally do also zest. So getting the outer peel, all that beautiful aromatic, it's wonderful to add. You could also add a little bit of the Ideal, so a non-nutritive sweetener. But again, I kind of like to keep mine on the tart side. So that's a really good blend. There we go. Now, let me show you what we're going to do with this crust. So if you've ever made crust before, you know that you typically would roll it out and it's kind of a challenge to try to make sure it's going to easily lift up and over into your pan. Well, not the case with gluten-free. I'm just going to crumble it into the base of my pan. And the nice thing is your crust is hidden by all your really yummy toppings, or fillings, I should say. So all that we really want to do is make sure the edges are pretty and it comes all the way to the edge so that it has a nice crust. So I'm going to press it all up there to the very end of my pie pan. These little aluminum ones are a little hard to work with, honestly. I actually love it when I make them at home. I use a glass pan, but these work fine too. And so I'm just going to set to work first pressing the base, and then I'll start to work on the edges. Do you know an interesting fact? During the holiday season, the average American gains 12 pounds. Isn't that crazy? So between Halloween, so we'll say October 1, because that's when the grocery stores start putting candy in the aisles, all the way through January 1st, the average American gains about 12 pounds. So that's about 40,000 extra calories. And so that's why I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to show you a healthier pie that is made with very little sweetness. I have clients and customers will oftentimes call and ask us for a sugar-free pie. Or sometimes they'll even ask for a keto pie. And what I try to help them see is that just by taking out sugar doesn't change the calories of that pie a whole bunch. So it might be a better option just to get a pie that tastes really yummy, maybe has real sugar in it, and you only eat one slice. I used to have a client that she would come to see me for her monthly visits, and she'd say, well, Suzanne, I know I had kind of a big lunch on Friday, or we had a dinner party on Saturday, but it was really only that one time. And she had about 15 of those in the month, which is why she had a hard time with weight loss. Little choices add up. So we want to make sure that we think through how do we get through the holidays without having that 12-pound weight gain. And little choices add up. So one of the things I like to recommend is don't save leftovers. Just make enough for your celebration. Enjoy every bite. Still get your exercise during the holiday season so that you can have your waistline match the beginning of October all the way through January. You don't have to have that weight gain. So see, I'm just pressing it up to the very edge. And if you want, you could add a little bit of flour and it kind of helps to firm up that little shape. What's important is the crust will shrink as it cooks. So it's important to get this little edge so that it doesn't fall and you don't get to hold all the yummy juices. So you really don't want the juices to go into the pie pan. You want it to stay within the crust and all the goodies. Now we could par bake this, or we can go ahead and put the berries right in and let it bake all together. So it kind of depends on how crispy you want your shell. If you want it to stay crispy, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and cook it ahead of time. Okay, so that is really good. So it's interesting because if you can kind of feel with your thumb as you're going around, you want to try to make sure the crust is even all around. You don't have an extra fat spot or you have an extra thin spot for sure, but that's just about right. So I am going to par bake this, and so I want to show you ones that were already baked. These little tartlets, talk about great portion control. These are so cute. They hold about 2 tablespoons worth of the blueberries, and it's just a great way to have a little taste and not feel like you're going overboard with a piece. And you know, once you kind of get all this filling in there, and we could put some topping on it, or, which is what I want to do, I want to add some whipping cream or maybe even some ice cream at the very end when we're ready to serve them. So I'm just going to start adding this beautiful blueberry filling to each one. And you don't have to have a tart pan. You can just kind of form these by hand, but of course a tart pan does really help. And I'm going to let them overflow just a little bit to make it look really juicy and inviting. And then I'm going to refrigerate these, and when we pick them up and put them onto our serving plate, we'll put some whipped cream on them. Yeah, that's looking so pretty. This is also a good spot where if you wanted to add the crumble, you could, and it will just sink right in and absorb some of that extra juice. There we go. So beautiful. The other thing you can do is make a meringue and whip up the meringue and then add it to the top and cook it for about, probably 4 minutes in a hot oven, and it browns the meringue really nicely, and that's a fun way to serve them too. So those are so cute, a great little mini dessert. Okay, so now our crust is ready to go. I'm going to fold this in. Something else is really fun we do here at Powerhouse Bakery is we make a berry crisp, and that's actually available all year round. And it has multiple berries, and it even has a crust that's made with apple slices. And so that's another really fun way to really build all the fruits and all the extra flavors. And so that is so pretty. I think what I'm going to do on this one is add a little bit more fruit to the very top after it's done cooking. So that's a really cute style. I'm going to pop it in the oven. So let me show you a couple of other pies that we have at Powerhouse Bakery. This one is a chocolate paleo pie. And again, very easy. We use the same crust, and all we did was melt dark chocolate and coconut whipping cream together just on a saucepan and poured it in and let it chill. So easy. So again, I'll send you this recipe. It's an absolute crowd pleaser. And here is one more. This is our pecan pie. So this one is not low in calorie. So I always warn people that a pecan pie is definitely going to be high in sugar. It's one of those things where you take a small piece and definitely don't miss your workout the next couple of days because it's going to be pretty high in sugar. But there's also so many great nutrients in pecans. Not only are they high in minerals like phosphorus and magnesium, they also are a source of calcium, and they're a great source of healthy fats. And so making it a pretty design, making sure that you have the almond crust helps to lower the sugar content. You know, when we think about the glycemic index of pies, we want to make sure that we have that in the thought process. So if we looked at it as a scheme, of course the pecan pie will have the highest sugar content, but because it also has a fair amount of fat from all the nuts, it does help to slow that absorption of the sugars a little bit. But I always say it's still really important to make sure that you have a small portion. But what's nice is when you compare that glycemic index, the berry pie is very high in fiber. So that's going to be a great choice when you're picking a berry pie and you want to maybe share it with somebody that has a sensitive blood sugar range. The berry pie is going to be a better choice because even though the pecan pie does have the extra fats, it's not going to be as good as the extra fiber that you find in a berry pie. And so again, this one's got a very small amount of sugar, which is great. We sweetened it with the orange juice and a tiny bit of that organic coconut sugar. Ooh, and one thing I forgot to say is I also added our specialty PHB sweet spice. This is such a great spice. It makes it so much easier to use less sugar because it's all those sweet spices. So imagine what those are. It's cinnamon for sure, and then allspice, cardamom, coriander, and cloves. It's a great combination. So I add this in to everything that I can when I'm trying to lower the sugar and I want to increase the flavor profile. The sweet spice is a perfect one. And when we go into, again, that glycemic index, the chocolate pie was the other one I really wanted to share because this has no added sugar. So it's the coconut whipping cream, the dark chocolate. Now, granted, some dark chocolate chips will have added sugar, but very little. And so if we think of which pie would be the best choice as far as glycemic index, probably this one will be the win, because even though the berry pie has some added sugars, and of course we could have used the ideal, the berries themselves have some added natural sugar. So the dark chocolate paleo pie is probably going to be the lowest in glycemic index. Then goes the berry pie, and then the pecan pie. But then if we had one more way to describe the healthy in these pies, we'd have to think of total calories. And so which one do you think would win if we were doing an eighth of a pie and we compared the paleo chocolate or the pecan? Which one do you think is going to be lower in calories? So I'm going to let you think about that. And if you text me, I'll give you the answer. So we know probably the blueberry pie is the lowest calorie, but which one do you think would be lower? The pecan pie or the paleo chocolate pie? Again, added sugar, lots of pecans, and of course the almond crust, dark chocolate, coconut whipping cream, and that pie crust. So let me hear what you think. It'll be fun to get your input. So just in summary, the thing that I love about times of celebration and Oh My Pie season is getting to enjoy some treats that you might not always have access to during the year. Portion size is going to be super important. So if it's a cute little tart, or it's an eighth of a pie, that's always a good choice. But make sure that you enjoy it and you keep all of your routine up. So exercise and good sleep and lots of good laughter is all a part of wellness. And of course, having a little pie among friends is a great way to celebrate and really salute to health. So I hope this has helped you, and be looking for our recipes. And we have our cookbook out now. So I hope you come by Powerhouse Bakery and pick up one for you and your family. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you soon.